There we go. So good morning, everybody. Today, we are going to talk about resume rehabilitation for the safety professional and how important a good resume is towards getting the career or the job of your dreams. My name is Brent Knight. I'm the president of Intuitive Safety Solutions. ISS was founded by Melinda, who's on the call, and me back in 2007. I've been working in safety for 30 years now, and we've owned ISS for 15 years. ISS is a safety consulting and staff augmentation company. We focus on the construction industry, mostly owners and contractors. And we're one of the 5 probably largest companies who does what we do in the United States. So over 15 years, we've completed well over 1,000 projects. We've learned a lot about the industry. We've learned a lot about how to sell people and what employers are looking for. So we're hoping to share some of that with everybody today. The industries or the markets that we work in are, like I said, primarily construction sector, working with owners, oftentimes building data centers and high-tech facilities, renewable energy, wind farms, energy storage, solar farms, oil and gas projects, commercial construction projects, Department of Defense and energy projects. So a little bit of everything across the construction sector. What makes ISS different, I believe, and we've proven it, we have been certified a great place to work, which took the effort of all of the employees we have, including all of our field staff. They had to basically attest to the fact that we're a great place to work. Really how we're different is how we treat people. An example of that is we try to develop our folks through training, certification, and prepare people to become successful, more successful as they go through their careers. And we do that in a lot of different ways. A good example is working on developing a better resume so that we can sell our folks or help people sell themselves for the jobs that they want. Now, the staffing landscape is changing rapidly. The supply of safety professionals as compared to the demand in the industry are not equal. And as a result of that, companies are outsourcing more and more because companies like ISS can find people where they can't recruit them internally. They may spend 3 months trying to recruit somebody without success and come to us and we have somebody ready to go out the door. So you can see that the landscape is changing and that staff augmentation model is becoming more and more prevalent every single day. Now, as a safety professional, as a candidate, really your resume is your brochure. So if you were a door-to-door salesperson and you were walking around from door to door and you walked in and said, here's my brochure, and it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with print on it, nobody's going to probably look at that. Now, if you come up with a really pretty brochure and you hand it to them, then the likelihood they're going to spend a little bit of time on it is much, much greater. And you have to consider that a hiring agent, whether it's an HR person, a recruiter, a safety manager, they're going to spend anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds on your resume. And if it doesn't catch their eye immediately, then it's going to get tossed to the side. So really, your ticket to get into that concert or that event, in this case, a job, is your resume. It's really, really important that it's perfect. That means spelling has to be correct, grammar has to be correct, punctuation, the formatting has to be consistent throughout. And keep in mind, this is the most important document you have to sell you. And then once you get the opportunity with your resume, that's your ticket to an interview. That's where you get to shine and really tell people how you're different. So with that, I'd like to introduce Marna and Abby and Mary in our recruiting department. I'd also like to say that if you have any questions, there's a little chat button at the bottom. Go ahead and type in your questions, and at the end, Abby will address those, and hopefully we can answer those questions. So with that, Marna, turn it over to you to talk a little bit about a resume.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming and thanks for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. As Brent said, myself and Abby are part of the recruiting team with ISS. I have been with ISS for close to 2 years now in the construction consulting industry. Prior to that, I was a resume or a job search coach. So I helped a lot of folks with their resumes in a lot of different areas. And I know that resumes are challenging and they're hard. And the hardest part is actually getting started. So we're hoping that with today that we provide you with something that gets you going and gets you excited about doing your own resume. So for being a job search coach, I'm pretty passionate about folks doing their own resumes and writing their own resumes. And there's 3 reasons specifically why I think that's important. And the first is like Brent said, your resume is a selling tool. It's the beginning part of your job search, and it needs to sell you. And you need to write it. And in writing it, you will begin to get your head wrapped around some of the things that you've done for other employers that have been of benefit. And you can create it, you can know it, and you can own it, and you can speak to it. And I've had consultants that have had interviews where their resume was written by a resume writer and something was brought up in the interview and they couldn't speak to it because they didn't write the resume. So it didn't turn out well. And it's just an example of how you really need to own your resume. The other thing that's really important with you writing your own resume is you need to be able to maintain it and update it quickly. If there's a job posting that you want to get out, or a recruiter calls you and they want you to send them your resume, you need to be able to do that quickly. The sooner that your resume gets in front of the hiring manager, the better off for you. And the third reason, of course, is it saves you money. It saves you time, it saves you money. So over time, having that resume writer re-add the additional projects takes a lot of time. So for those reasons, I think it's really important that you write your own resume. And we hope that today we give you the tool to be able to do that. So I'm going to take some time now and share my screen and bring in the resume format that we actually prefer. I'm just going to go through this pretty much, section by section, and just kind of highlight the areas and what you should put in it. And keep in mind, like Brent said, that a resume is your selling tool. You get about 2 or 3 minutes, and the hiring manager either sees what they want to see or they move on. And so you have to really grab their attention and get them to read your resume. So at the very top, of course, you've got your name and your city, state, and very important is your email address and your phone number. And I have seen these being eliminated, so I wanted to point that out. And if you happen to have a CHST or a CSP, feel free to put this right next to your name. Bring that out. That's one of the first things that they need to see. You worked hard for it, so show it off. Next is your title, and you can put, safety manager, consultant, whatever your highest title was. Maybe you were an EMT back in the day. Go ahead and put that in this title section, okay? The next section, although it is not labeled as such, is what I call the professional summary. So this is a 2 or 3 sentence paragraph. It shouldn't be lengthy. It should just be very specific. And this should change with each job posting, give or take, that you have. Or if you get information from the recruiter that says, the hiring manager looking for ABC, make sure you highlight that so that then the hiring manager then wants to read on. So safety professional with X amount of time in working in various industries, you can label wind, solar, heavy civil, etc. That's where you highlight this. Maybe in the job posting, it says that they want somebody that has steel erection experience in safety. Then you would highlight that as well. Able to communicate at all levels. Communication is always very important. And I've had hiring managers that focus their entire interviews on communication and communication style. So don't forget that piece as well. And another thing I wanted to point out in this professional summary section is if you've got, for example, 20 years in construction and 10 of that has been in the trades or as an EMT, and 10 of that has been as a safety professional, please differentiate that and make it clear so that it's not there's no confusion that you've been a safety professional for X amount of times and in the trades, for X amount of times. But don't eliminate the fact that you've been in the trades, because a lot of hiring managers like the fact that you've worked your way up. The next section is safety experience. Now we have listed here various topics that you can talk about. This is the section that you kind of say it one time and then you don't have to say it again for every project, because most safety people in every project, they do orientations, they do toolbox talks, they do audits, they do inspections, they do investigations, they do all of that things, and you don't need to list that under every single project. You just list it once and you're done. We have these various titles here. I actually prefer that you go with your safety titles. So maybe to show a progression of your career. So for example, maybe you started out in the trades. Then that would be your bottom bullet down here at the bottom. Or as an EMT person, then you would put a little bit of blurb there. And then you became a safety advisor and you did your toolbox tops, your orientations, etc. And then you moved up and you became a safety manager, and maybe you assisted with putting together site safety plans, or you were the owner's rep or a GC rep or that kind of thing. Then you would put that here, and at the very top would be your highest level that you've attained. And so this section can be big, it can be short, but it can, and you add to it as you go along and as you go along in your career and get more experience. So that's the safety experience section. Now, your professional work experience section. This is the section that you talk about your projects, where you go in and you quickly add your additional projects. And make it quick and easy. This is obviously going to get bigger with time. And some of the key things that we've brought up here are things that Brent has brought up to us in the recruiting department that managers like to see on a resume, that they find important. Okay, so the industry is very important. If you're going after a wind job, they want to see, okay, wind farm, okay, they've got 5 years of wind farm. I'm good with that, kind of thing. But they also like to see, how big was the project? How many people were on it, CRADE? How many subcontractors was it? Were you a safety person for one of the subcontractors? In which case, how many other safety folks did you work with? Were you the GC? And how many subcontractors did you manage? Things like that. So this section, we try to keep it small, but, get in the pertinent points. If you've had a project that had no recordables, that's important. And you should note that. Anytime that you can quantify something, it has a bigger impact. So anytime you can say 18 subcontractors manage 250 or 50 people or whatever that looks like, the more you can quantify it, the better off it is. Moving down here now, education and certifications, okay? So we have separated them here. You can put them together if you choose. If you've just had a high school education, you may want to skip the education section and you might want to just go straight into your certifications. If you have graduated from college, or even a AA, go ahead and put that under your education. And don't put the year that you graduated. We don't really, age discrimination isn't as bad in this industry as I've seen in other industries, but, we don't really need to put the year that you graduated. Now, as far as certifications are concerned, it is important to put the year that you took them and, start with your highest one. If you have a CHST, if you have the number, you can write that down as well. And just be very cognizant of a couple of things with regards to certifications. First of all, make sure they're all current, and make sure the ones that are listed on your resume, you actually have in a folder or on your computer that you can quickly send to a hiring manager or to a recruiter. And so everything that needs to be listed, you need to have a copy of, okay? Second, if it is expired, let's say, for example, if you had an OSHA 500 and it was expired, that's okay. Put the OSHA 500, but put expired and put the year that it expired, so that it at least shows that at some point you did have it. And let's see. You can put all your other trainings here, which you can put together with certifications, but we have them separated. Additional trainings that are maybe more like computer trainings that you've done, fall protection, confined space, and working at heights at GWO is kind of a big thing in the wind world, so you might want to put that higher up. But so that's basically our format. We choose this format because we think it's easier for the construction industry to add their additional projects, and we can keep it to 1, maybe 2 pages, and it captures the hiring manager's attention. Remember, one of the most important things when you're writing a resume is always keep in mind that the hiring manager is thinking, what can you do for me? What have you done for other hiring managers on other projects, and what can you do for me? And why should I select you over someone else? So don't be afraid to toot your own horn and brag a little bit about some of the things that you've accomplished in your career. Now, if you have any questions, I'll stop sharing my screen now, and we can get to the question section of this thing. Do we have any questions?
Okay, so how many pages should a resume be?
On average, it's best to do 1 or 2. If you've got a lengthy career, you may not be able to keep it on 1 page. 2, if it has to go into the 3rd, that's fine, but please try to keep it, because like I said, you have a minute or 2, and if the hiring manager's got a stack of resumes, he's not going to want to read a 5, 6, 7-page resume. So try to keep it as short and sweet, because you're just highlighting your experience. You're going to elaborate and go into more detail in the interview.
Okay. And should you have a cover letter?
Well, that's a matter of opinion, and I do feel like resumes are like opinions. Everyone's got one. I think you can eliminate the cover letter, but if you're comfortable having one, so be it. But I think you can highlight your stuff right in your professional summary and catch their attention and provide them with enough information that they want to read on.
And then if you're new to the safety industry, how would you shape your resume to land a job?
Well, if you're brand new, you should, highlight what you did before. I mean, if you talk about the fact that you have 5 years or 5 years in the industry and 3 of them were in a trade, then you list that and speak to it as much as you can, and then highlight your 2 years of safety. It's difficult to get started, but you're going to have to go back to your previous experience to have something on a resume. Brent, how would you answer that? I mean, if there's somebody that's a year or 2 just into it.
I think that you touched, Marna, on how important it is to sell. Why do they care? What's in it for them? And I think that regardless of somebody's experience, and I actually typed a question in the chat box on the resume about attributes, strengths, qualities of somebody. When somebody says, I'm super eager, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, I want to learn, and if you hire me, you're going to get 110% out of me, that can build confidence in a hiring manager with somebody who has less experience than somebody who might be more qualified, but maybe doesn't come across with the level of professionalism of the more eager person who's passionate and really shows they want the job.
I can tell you that when I first started recruiting, I started out in the IT, and I would talk to a hiring manager or just anybody else, and they would say, well, how much recruiting experience do you have? And I would say, I don't have any, but I know I can do this. it was just with my passion and my conviction and my confidence. And I know I can do this. I know I can do this. And I would just say it in a way that was so certain that they were like, oh, okay.
Can I go back to Abby to the question about cover letters? Because I think that cover letters were very common when people mailed or faxed resumes, but now we use email. And Marna, you and Abby get hundreds, if not thousands of resumes. When somebody submits a resume for a job, how important is the professionalism of that submittal in addition to the actual appearance of the resume? How important is the way they submit it?
Well, I think it's very important how they submit it. In all honesty, I am not a big cover letter reader. I skim it because I'm not going to send the cover letter to my hiring managers. I'm going to send the resume. So how the resume is formatted and how it appears and looks and grabs my attention, to me, is more important than the cover letter. I don't know, did that answer your question?
What does it look like when somebody sends you an email with an attached resume and no body of the email, nothing, just an attached resume to an email with absolutely no introduction to themselves, no thank you, anything like that?
I don't know. I get those all the time. I don't really think twice about it, but it is helpful if they have a little bit of a sentence or two that says, I'm responding to your post regarding this, I have X amount of years, but it shouldn't be lengthy. It shouldn't be lengthy because, again, hiring managers, recruiters, they have enough to read, get to the point, make it brief, make it meaningful, and have your resume sell you.
I think that professionalism can be defined in a moment. And that moment, that first impression of a resume with no, hello, my name is John Doe, and I would love to have a conversation about working as a safety professional with your company. To me, that sets the tone of professionalism. When there's nothing but an attachment, that immediately sends a message to me of a lack of professionalism. That's just my perspective from what I've seen over the years. And now a hiring manager may have less time and may critique those things less.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, or do we have any more, Abby?
We do not.
Okay, so I guess I will send it back over to Melinda.
Yeah, we'll just have a little fun. As said in promoting this event, we're going to have a little giveaway, and we did a randomizer for the people who registered for the event. And David Gushloff, I hope I'm saying that, Gushloff, I apologize if I'm messing up your last name, but you are the winner of the awesome Yeti water bottle. So, which keeps your water cold, and it's pretty awesome. And it's got actually this special lip on it that makes it unique. So you will be getting that, and everyone also attending will get a copy of the resume template as a thank you for attending. So yeah, Brent, do you want to close it out?
No, just appreciate everybody for attending, and we will do these as often as necessary. Again, the more that we can help people in the industry grow and get the jobs that they want, whether that's for us or for somebody else, the better. And we'll post this broadcast, this recording on LinkedIn. And again, we're happy to do this quarterly or as often as necessary for anybody who'd like to ask their questions live. And obviously on LinkedIn, you can ask those questions at any time and we will respond to them. So thanks everybody for attending, and we appreciate the time, and good luck.